Why I Hate Jack Frost. I gazed out the front window of our new house in Arizona. There were no trees in the yard, no drifts of snow, no ice. Instead, I saw only sand and cactus. Tall, green, prickly, ugly cactus. Instead of a green Christmas wreath, a circle of red chilies hung on our door. Instead of grey clouds sprinkling snowflakes, a bright blue sky. A warm yellow sun shone over everything. I hate winter here, I cried out loud. Of course you do, Jared, Mum called from the other room. You're 12 and you've always wanted to live somewhere that has snowy winters. You have to give the desert a chance. You'll learn to love it. No way, I thought. Look on the bright side, Mum said. Back home, you couldn't ride your bike during Christmas vacation. I'd rather ride my sled, I muttered. Still, riding my bike sounded like a good idea. It might take my mind off how homesick I felt. I'm going out for a while, I called. Good, Mum replied. Just be back before dinner. We're going to trim the tree this evening. Tree? Ha! I glanced at the green plastic tree in the living room. Like everything else in the desert winter, our Christmas tree was fake. My bike stood propped against the front wall of the house. Glancing around, I thought that even the houses looked wrong. My house and all the others in our new neighbourhood are pale pink. All of them have flat roofs. They look like ugly shoe boxes. I pedalled to the mall. I chained my bike, then went inside. Christmas music blared from loudspeakers. People crowded in the walkways. Everyone was smiling. Everyone seemed to be full of Christmas spirit. Everyone but me. I wanted to see shoppers bundled up in heavy coats and jackets, but everyone wore shorts and t-shirts. It didn't feel like Christmas. It felt more like the 4th of July, and then I saw it. A tall green fir tree stood in the centre of the mall. It looked just like the Christmas tree we used to decorate back home. I raced towards it. A spicy scent filled the air. The tree was real. It was decorated with hundreds of beautiful old-fashioned ornaments. A small sign said the ornaments were for sale. I'll buy one, I thought. That will make it seem more like a real Christmas. I spotted a large ornament shaped like an old-fashioned house. The house had white wooden walls and a slanted roof. The roof was covered with snow. A tiny elf stood in the doorway of the house. He wore a green suit and a red scarf. You like it? A voice cracked in my ear. I glanced up. A very old man stood beside me. I can see you miss your real winter, the old man said. These ornaments are the next best thing. The one you're looking at is very special. It's the home of Jack Frost, who brings the ice. I reached up to touch the ornament. It felt cold. I wondered if it had been kept in the refrigerator or something. I'll take it, I exclaimed. I paid the old man, shoved the ornament in my backpack and sped home. I couldn't wait to hang the ornament on our tree, but as soon as I caught sight of the ugly tree in our living room, I changed my mind. The ornament was much too good for a fake tree. Instead, I decided to hang Jack Frost and his house above my bed. That way, I could bring a little bit of real winter into my room. The next morning, I gazed out the window. I couldn't believe my eyes. Everything was covered in white, a real snowstorm. The flakes were so thick, the air looked white. The wind blew drifts across the yard. Quickly, I dug through my closet for my parka. Then I ran outside. I began rolling snow for a snowman. What fun! When the body was built, I shoved broomsticks in the snowman's side for arms. Then I put chunks of coal on the head to make eyes, nose, and a mouth. Finally, I placed a stocking cap on the snowman's head. Good job, cried a cheerful voice. I turned to see an elf, dressed all in green. He had a red beard. A long red scarf hung around his neck. He looked exactly like Jack Frost in the ornament that I'd bought. Jack Frost snapped his fingers and the snowman's eyes blinked.
Oh, that feels good,
the snowman said in a rumbling, deeper voice. He raised his arms up and down. Then he turned to me. "Race you to the pond," he rumbled. He waddled off over a hill. I raced after him. On the other side of the hill was a beautiful, gleaming, icy pond. A pair of ice skates sat on the bank of the pond. They were exactly my size. I put on the skates and began to glide out over the frozen water. The snowman skated beside me. We skated faster and faster. I could feel the icy wind biting my face, and it was great. I was back in winter. The snowman and I skated to the other side of the pond. We began making snowballs and throwing them at Jack Frost. The snowballs flew faster and faster. After a while, my teeth were chattering. I think it's time to stop, I stammered. The snowman and Jack Frost vanished in a spray of snow. I opened my eyes and lifted my head from my pillow. I'd been dreaming. I glanced over at my new Christmas tree ornament. Jack Frost grinned down from his little house. All day, I thought about the dream. It seemed so real. Thinking about skating on the icy pond made me shiver. I couldn't seem to get warm. I changed out of my shorts and put on jeans and a sweater. After breakfast, Tim, my friend who lives next door, came over. "Come on, Jared," he said, "let's go for a bike ride." "Don't think so," I replied. "It's too cold. I think I'll stay inside." I curled up next to the window with the sunlight streaming in, but the golden rays felt cold as ice. That night, I was so cold I went to bed early. I piled on extra blankets to try and warm up. As soon as my eyes closed, Jack Frost greeted me. "Welcome back to real winter, Jared," he exclaimed. I gasped when I saw that instead of fingernails, the elf had sharp blue icicles at the end of his fingers. "Let's go sledding." I followed Jack Frost up a long, slick hill. The wind blew even harder than it had in the first stream. I shivered. At the top of the hill stood a bright red sled. I climbed on behind Jack Frost. I was shivering so hard I could barely hold on to him. "Let's go," the elf cried. The sled raced down the hill. Faster and faster it sped. The cold wind whistled by my face. I could feel my cheeks freezing. The sled zigged and zagged along the steep slope. I held on as tightly as I could. I stared ahead. The sled headed toward the edge of a cliff. Faster and faster my heart began to pound. "Stop!" I shouted. "Stop!" I woke up. Late morning sun streamed in through the window, but my face felt damp and cold. My teeth chattered. I glanced at the ornament of Jack Frost above my bed. I felt a shiver go down my back. Just looking at the ornament made me feel colder. I opened the closet and dug through a trunk of clothes from back home. I put on my long johns under my jeans. Then a long sleeve shirt. Then a sweater. Then a sweatshirt. I still felt so cold I could barely move my fingers. I pulled the ornament off my bedpost. I didn't want it in my room anymore. I took it downstairs and hung it on the tree in the living room. "What a lovely ornament," my mother exclaimed. "It's Jack Frost," I told her. She narrowed her eyes at me. "Speaking of Jack Frost, why are you wearing all those clothes?" "I am freezing cold," I told her. "Cold?" she replied. "How can you be cold? It's 70 degrees today." She placed her hand on my forehead. "You don't seem to have a fever," she said, "but you'd better stay inside just in case." I spent the day in my room watching TV, drinking hot soup, covered up with blankets. I decided Mum was right. I must be sick. That was why I felt so cold. All I needed to get well, I thought, was a good night's sleep. "Come on, Jared, let's make snow angels." Jack Frost greeted me. I couldn't believe I was having another winter dream. I followed the elf out into the snow. Jack Frost pushed me down into the wet, deep slush. "Move your arms in circles," he told me. "Make angel wings." My arms kept moving back and forth in the snow, and now I realized I was sinking into the snow. I gazed up. Jack Frost stood a long way above. Walls of snow rose on all sides of me as I sank deeper and deeper. I struggled to sit up, but the more I struggled, the deeper I sank and the colder that I felt. I watched in horror as Jack Frost tossed a shovel of snow on top of me. The snow hit my face hard and covered my eyes. I was being buried alive, buried in a grave of snow. When I woke up, it was morning. Bright sunshine shone through my bedroom window. I reached over to touch the window glass. It was as cold as an ice cube. Shivering, I dressed in all my winter clothes. Then I put on my heavy parka and a knit cap and went downstairs. The ornament of Jack Frost glittered from the family Christmas tree. I yanked it off the tree and stuffed it into my pocket. I hurried out through the backyard. The cactus baked under the yellow sun, but I couldn't feel any of the warmth. I felt only chill all the way through my body. I stepped out to the alley. I pulled the lid off a trash can and jammed the ornament into it, way down, deep, with rotting orange peels and eggshells. "That's that," I said out loud. "So long, Jack Frost." That night, my parents and I stayed up late, wrapping Christmas packages. I felt so cold I kept my mittens on. I was shivering so hard I didn't think I'd be able to fall asleep, but the second I closed my eyes, Jack Frost was back. "Come on, Jared," the elf urged. "Let's go play in the snow." "No," I shouted. "I don't want to go. Leave me alone." "No way," Jack Frost exclaimed. He grabbed onto my hands. My skin on my hands froze to his. I had to follow him out to the cold, snowy field. The snowman I'd built was there, inside a snow fort. "Come on, Jared," he cried. "Let's play in the snow." No, I thought, I won't, but I felt myself climb into the snow fort. We had an endless snowball fight. For a while I felt so sleepy I could barely move. "I want to go to sleep," I told Jack Frost. "You can nap in my house," Jack Frost told me. He led me across the snowy field. Under a big tree stood a familiar looking old-fashioned house. I realized it was Jack Frost's house from the ornament. In front of the house stood a small Christmas tree. I started for the door of the house. "Not so fast," Jack Frost stopped me. "First, you must help me decorate my tree." "What do you mean?" I asked. He led the way behind the house to an alley, a familiar looking alley, the alley behind my own house. "Go on, Jared," Jack Frost said sternly. "Get the ornament out of the trash can. If you don't, you'll get even colder," he warned. I felt so cold and so sleepy. I pulled off the lid and reached deep into the frozen trash. I found the ornament and picked it up. Then I followed Jack Frost to the front of his little house. "Hang it on the tree, Jared," he ordered. I hung the ornament on the tree. The door to Jack Frost's home sprang open. I entered. It was small and tidy. A fire burned in the fireplace, but it gave off no warmth. I didn't care. I was so sleepy I curled up in front of the fire and fell asleep. Warm sun beat down on my back. I glanced up at the blue sky. I was in the backyard of my house in Arizona. For some reason, I was dressed in layers and layers of clothes. The fierce sun beat down on me. Sweat poured down from my face. I took off the parka, the sweater, the long johns. I stripped down to my bathing trunks, but it didn't help. I ran to the next door neighbor's house. The clear water in their pool looked cool and inviting. I took a running start and jumped in, but the water wasn't cool. It was boiling hot. And then I realized that this was all part of a new dream. "Wake up," I told myself. "Wake up now." When I opened my eyes, the swimming pool was gone. The hot steaming water was gone. I was back in Jack Frost's little house. Icicles hung from the windows on the inside. It was cold. So cold. Jack Frost entered the room. "Good morning, Jared," he said. "I heard you cried in your sleep. Did you have a bad dream?" "Huh?" I sat up, feeling dazed. "You're the bad dream," I cried. "I'm dreaming now, and when I wake up, I'm going to be in my nice warm bed in my new pink house in hot, sunny Arizona." The elf twisted his face in confusion. "Arizona? Do you really think you live in Arizona?" "Of course I do," I screamed. "And when I wake up..." He didn't let me finish. He pulled me outside. The ground lay covered with snow and heavy flakes were coming down. "This is where you live, Jared," Jack Frost said softly. "No," I shrieked. "No, I'm dreaming. I know I am. I stopped because something on Jack Frost's Christmas tree caught my eye. The ornament. The glass ornament. I stepped up to it, pulled it close, and gasped in horror. Inside the ornament, under a blazing sun, stood a little pink house surrounded by cactus plants. "That's my house," I wailed. "My house in the desert." Jack Frost gently wiped snow off my shoulder. "Poor guy," he murmured. "That ornament must have given you nightmares. You live here with me." Now get dressed and we'll have a nice long snowball fight.
Hi, I am so glad you made it to the end of the story. Congratulations! If you would like to hear about any new stories or any new videos from the Leftovers channel, be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon just so we can keep bugging you. We have a distinctly 90s flavour here. We look at video games, toys, books, Lego sets, and we do have a lot of fun, so I'd love for you guys to come back. So stay tuned for some more leftover culture. Thank you for watching.